Today, guys, we're going to talk about building a local playground for WordPress on your local machine. So on your desktop or laptop, so you can work on learning ideas, teaching ideas, playing with things. You can even build full sites on there if you want to, and then deploy them out to live later. I want to reiterate, this is a local machine installation or hosting. It is not a live accessible set of sites. So if you're going to work with a team, you're probably better off using something like InstaWP or deploying your own dev accounts on hosting. It makes more sense for a team. If you just want something where you can quickly run up a WordPress, blow it away when you're not happy with it, duplicate it, set up some blueprints that you can muck around with, learn from, teach from, then using local is a great way to do that. I've got a few simple ones set up here. I've got one WordPress site that's based on ACSS, automatic CSS. I've got one that's just base WordPress. In fact, that needs renaming because I'm actually using that with Advanced Themer and another framework. I've got a bricks only. So this is basically WordPress with just bricks installed with no plugins. So if I want to demonstrate an idea to somebody, I demonstrate it from that one where it doesn't have a bunch of other plugins that are going to confuse people. And then we've got just WordPress bricks only. Sorry, so the other way around. So my bricks only for live demos and WordPress bricks only. I've got a few other bits and pieces on there. All right, now, so to get started, you need to go to localwp.com and download the correct version for your device and install it. I'm not going to go through that because if you're watching this video, you should know how to install an application on your device. So you install the program and you end up with WP local running on your machine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start from scratch deploying a WordPress website, and I'm going to do it in real time. I'm not going to edit it, just to show that it does take a little bit of time, but it's a whole lot quicker than setting it all up yourself using something like XAMPP or installing your own Apache, PHP, MySQL, all that sort of stuff. This just does it all for you. It's a very, very neat way of doing it, but it does take a little time. Now, I will say I'm running on Windows 11 on a laptop, and WP Local is a little bit sluggish on this environment. I believe on Macs it is better. Probably a push for me to get that new M2 Mac, which I haven't got, but it is a little bit less responsive than my live hosting, but not enough for me to not use it. So I'm going to start here by deploying a site by clicking on the plus button down the bottom left, and I'm just going to create a new site. I'm going to click on continue to create a new site. I'm going to call this test or video, or just test video, and just continue. I've already got a site called that, so I call that test, I'll call it YT video. I must have had a site there which I didn't delete, so YT video, that'll do. Use my preferred options, or you can customize it. So preferred PHP 8.1 using Nginx and MySQL. You can customize all that if you want to. I don't think you need to, just leave it on preferred, click continue. Give it a username. I'm going to call this just admin and just use password. It'll warn you a little bit later on, but this is not going live. This is just for you locally, so it's not a security issue for you. So just use the word password. Make sure I did correct. Yeah, I put password in there, add the site, and it's going to go away and it's going to download and install the current version of WordPress, and it's going to set it all up for me ready to go. Where all I have to do is log in and make my changes. So it does take a little bit of time as it downloads, it works through setting it up, copying files, all that sort of thing. So we're just going to let that go. Now on Windows, we're going to get this little message coming up here for host redirection from user account control. If you're on Mac, you'll get a different security message. Just follow the prompts. Windows, you just click yes. And that just gives the application permission to set up your domain so you can access it. So now it's going to add WordPress for me. And I will sit there and wait while it does that. Drinking my coffee, my morning coffee. Okay, so it's telling us what it's doing as it goes, which is brilliant. So we know it's not stalling. Okay, I need to probably put some background music on this because it's getting a little tedious waiting, isn't it? Okay, so it's added it. Now, sometimes on Windows, it will come up with an error when it does that. And that's okay. You can ignore the error and it still works. So now I'm going to trust the SSL certificate. So it's created a domain, which is YT video, which is the name I gave it, .local. And it's created an SSL certificate for it. Now on Windows, I need to hit the trust button. It'll bring up my user account control here. And all I do is click yes. On Mac, you'll get a different security warning. Follow the prompts. Okay, there we go. So now our certificate is trusted. Now, this is a bit of an optional thing, but one of the first things I normally do is I go to the site folder. We go into our conf folder, go to MySQL. We open up the config file for MySQL. That just opened on another window. Did it? It didn't open at all. Let's try that again. There it is here. Sorry, it's opened up in a different window. There it is there. So what we got to do here is we're going to tell it to not log binaries for changes in MySQL. What I found with local, and this is a common complaint, is that the more you use it, the more the disk usage on your device grows, because every time you make changes, it gets to about, I think it's a megabyte or whatever, it saves a change file. And all of a sudden you go in there and you've got, 100 gig of log files that are a waste of time. So there is, I'm just trying to remember what it's called. So I'm just going to search for another, have a look on another site. I can't remember what the directive is. So let's have a look at another one. Okay, conf. There it is there. So skip log bin. You need to do this, otherwise it will just chew up space. So under MySQL, you just put the word skip-log-bin and save that. And that will save you from having to clean up a whole bunch of config files, not config files, so log files that MySQL creates as you use the sites. So that's the something you don't have to do, but something I would definitely recommend that you do. All right, so now we've got our WordPress installed, we've trusted our certificate, we've told MySQL not to create millions of log files, and we've got, by default, we've got our one-click admin enabled. If it's not, turn it on, and that'll pick the admin user that you created. And now all we have to do is hit the WP admin button, it'll go away and it'll start the site up. So it's already there, started, dismiss that. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we find that with some plugins and builders, if you do not use SSL, it does restrict some of your features. So we're going to go to General, and we're going to change the address to HTTPS for both the WordPress address and the site address, and save changes. Now it's going to log us out. We're going to put admin, and we just use password as the password. Nice strong password, right? And we're back in, and we could say, save that password so we don't have to keep asking. Now, even if I log out, close that, close this, get back to here. If I now hit the WP admin, it goes straight to there. It's got my saved password, hit login. All right, so there we go. So there's the initial setup. It's going to give us a warning in Chrome because we used the word password. That's okay. All right, now, so there's our WordPress started. Now, if we're looking at the basic settings in general, you don't need to change it. This is only a muck around site. This isn't something you're going to put live anyway. So in our reading, whatever defaults you want to set on there, check your permalinks. Permalinks are pretty good straight off the bat. So it's got post name, which is what we typically want. So you really don't have to do anything. They're all ready to go. Now, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start installing some plugins for our starter. I'm going to add a new plugin here. First one I always install is Instant Images. This gives us a really easy way of just grabbing some royalty-free images to stick on things for mucking around. And in fact, even when I'm doing dev sites for clients, I often use instant images just to put placeholder images. And sometimes the client likes them anyway, so that's okay. So we're not going to go through and activate all these because it takes longer to activate and then re-add. So instant images, we're going to add Fakerpress, so we can develop some fake posts. Now, don't put a space in between Faker and Press, otherwise it won't find it. So install Fakerpress. So it's installed. Next one's going to be a very important one, which will be WP, and in this case, you do need a space, WP reset. And we use this, so once we've set up our base starting point, we use WP reset to create a snapshot, go for your life, muck around with as much as you like, mess it up as much as you like, and then you just restore to your snapshot when you want to go back to your base. All right, so that's that. Now we need to install some other plugins, which actually, in fact, what we're going to do is install our themes first. So we're going to go to themes because we're going to make this our bricks starter site. So I'm going to add a new theme, upload my theme. I've got these already downloaded into a folder. So I'm going to use bricks 1.9.5, install that. Okay, we're not going to activate it. We're going to go back to the themes page and we're going to add our child. Our bricks child there. Okay, I'm going to activate our child. Back to our plugins. And we're going to add some new plugins here. And we've already added the ones from the WordPress repository that we want. So we're just going to upload our plugins now. Choose file. Okay, so the first one I'm going to add is my WPCodeBox. And go back to the plugin. So we're going to activate things as we go because it just takes longer. Upload another plugin. There are other ways of doing this. I'm just showing you through the way that most people would do it. We'll add advanced themer. This is what I use for a base test. Okay, get back to the installer. And going to add one more, which is my little play around framework I've called BB framework. And you might be using core framework, ACSS, or not using a framework at all. This is entirely up to you as to what you do here. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to go into our plugin folder. Going to select them all, and we're going to use the bulk actions to activate them all. That's just quicker than going through one at a time, activating, going back and installing. And there is our base set up, right? So now we just need to license a couple of things. Now, a good important note is that if you don't have unlimited site LTD licenses for the ones that you've installed here, and really only three we're worried about is WPCodeBox, advanced themer, and our bricks theme. If you don't have unlimited LTDs, normally when they see the .local on the end of your domain, it doesn't count towards your usage. So you need to activate to use it and update it properly, but it doesn't count towards your actual license usage in most cases. All right, so we're going to go to our bricks and we're going to activate our license. I'm just going to bring another tab up. I'm not going to show you my licenses here or I'll end up getting shot by the vendors. So I'm going to just find my license. And copy that to the clipboard, paste it into here and activate my license. My keeper is brilliant password manager, but boy, does it get in the way. All the time it's getting in the way. So the other license we needed is for advanced themer. Put that on my clipboard as well. Activate that. All right, so I think that's the only two that I need to license. WPCodeBox is a download, which includes your API key, so you don't need to license that. All right, so that's done. Now, This next thing I'm going to do does take a little bit. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that hello world rubbish post that they put in there. And we're going to Fakerpress. And we're going to create some posts. Now this, I don't know about on Macs, but this does take some time. So I'm just going to say 10 posts, leave this all on default. And this gives us stuff that we can use in our query loops, etc. We're setting up our post page, our archive page, our post single. It's all just rubbish that we can use. And the cool thing with Fakerpress is at the end of it, what you can do is you go into the Fakerpress here, and you just tell it you want to remove all Fakerpress posts, and you're ready to go. You don't have to individually find them all and delete them. There's a feature in here which will just delete everything that you've created with Fakerpress. So it's a brilliant little plugin for giving you a starting point to work from. It does take a little bit of time, probably because it's going to all these generator sites to generate images and God knows what. But maybe this is a running on Windows issue. So it does take a little bit of time. There we go. We've generated our 10 posts, ready to go. All right. So the next thing I do is I go into my bricks settings and we just do some basic settings. Now, remember, this is a muck around site. This isn't going to be a live site, so you don't have to get too carried away in here. There are some things here that you might normally disable on live sites. You don't need to worry about it for this. We'll set some custom breakpoints. We're not going to worry about any conversions. Builder access, not going to worry about, except for we're going to let administrators execute code. Not going to do anything with templates. On the builder, we're going to allow the open with new tab. We're not going to worry about that. I always disable the element spacing. I hate it when you drag in the editor and end up with pixels as padding and margin, etc. Going to add these duplicate and delete onto the structure panel elements. And I like it to expand in active element and scroll into view when you select the element in the structure panel. What do we guess we got here? The rest I'm just going to leave. The rest I'll leave. Yep, performance I'm not going to worry about. Now, if this was a live site, I would go through and disable most of this. And I deal with it differently. So this is just for our muck around site. So we're going to leave that as it is. Save settings, and that is our bricks settings done. AT, there's a little bit more involved in AT because of the amount of features it has. So we're not going to use our global colors because I use a framework. You might use global colors. We're not going to use their CSS variables. We're not going to use the classes and styles. Let's have a look in there. No, we're not going to use any of that. We are going to use builder tweaks. We're not going to use strict edit view or AI or the front end playground or the extras. All we need is the builder tweaks here. So it's just going to get the one tab there. Builder elements, that's so you can restrict in your restriction mode, which we're not going to do. All right. So we're not going to worry about any of that. Going to builder tweaks. All right, so what do we want on the top bar? We want a structure panel, our elements, keyboard shortcuts, classes and styles, and our top bar. Top bar, we want our grid guide, our responsive helper, open a new tab, and our class manager. We don't use the variables from AT, so I'm not going to worry about that. So that's all I'm enabling. Structure panel. Okay, the structure helper, that's a nice one to have. I'm not using it right now, but it's a nice one to have. I love the component class manager. I like having convert my basic rich text to heading converter. So if you right click on a heading, you can convert it into basic text or rich text. General tweaks, we'll just leave all that on. We're going to turn on our element shortcut. So that's the stuff on the right hand side, is it? I think it is when you end up with right hand side of the editor there. So turn all that on. This will be up to you how you do it. All right, now I generally don't use all of these, but just for this quick demo, I'm going to turn them all on because there are things that I do want. Some stuff in here I really don't use, but I'll just leave it on for now. One thing actually I will turn off because it annoys me. Where is it? Where is it? I don't like that. Yeah, I think you can end up with too many things here, and it just makes the interface a little bit more confusing. So just turn on the stuff that you want. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Okay, I'm not going to worry about any of that. Elements. Okay, so what do we want to enable? Let's just do our tab shortcuts. Let's just toggle it all on. Toggle it all on. Worry about it later. Again, I would not do this on live builds. This is just to show you how this can happen. You go through there and selectively enable, disable the things you like or don't like. We want our tab shortcuts. That's on the left-hand side of the editor. Pseudo shortcuts I'm not using. That I use figure. Set caption to no caption. I don't use that. I do want to use that. Don't use that. Leave all that there. All right, so there's my AT settings, just as a very, very quick overview. Now, typically, I would go through and tidy this up and only put the stuff on that I actually use. But that's AT done. All right, so we haven't built anything yet. All we've done is installed some plugins, installed bricks, licensed it, and then set some defaults. All right, now, so we're going to then go into, this is specifically to my framework, BB framework. It's just a CSS variable only framework pretty much. So, because I generally use BEM, so I only create CSS variables and very, very few utility classes. So I've got a little button here. So I'm going to create my WPCodeBox scripts in WPCodeBox. Again, you might have core framework or ACSS, whatever you use. So I'm going to enable my files that I just created, enable that so that I get my framework. That's done. All right, so that is everything set up and ready to go. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to go into our tools and create a snapshot of this is where we are at. So I go into tools and then WP reset, click away from that pop-up, go to your snapshots, and we're going to create a snapshot and we're going to call that base. All right, so now I've got a base snapshot. Right, now I'm going to now show you how this is super powerful. So from once you've got these set up, you've got your demo site set up or your playground site set up, click on your site, click on WP admin, and you're in there. All right, or you might get the login screen. You just got to put in admin and password. All right, so we're there. Now I go to my pages and we see we've just got the default WordPress pages. If I add a new page, and we call this demo, and we edit it with bricks. Okay, so we see my environment set up. I've got my shortcuts down the right-hand side, so I'm just going to use the AT features for that. Maybe inside that container, I'll stick a header, I'll stick some basic text. I'm going to use my AT class converter. I'm going to call this my hero home. Oops, didn't write. Hero home. And what else we're going to stick in there? We might stick an image in there. There, and we're just going to right click and use our class converter. This is an advanced thema. Create the classes. Done. We've got some classes created here now. So on this container here, say let's say for the hero home, we'll go into our hero home, and this is AT giving us all these here. Go into my padding here, and let's put some crazy padding on there. And again, we've got a framework. If you don't have a framework, you're going to have to put values in here. But if I just start typing here, if I'm going to put my space, I've got my section space M, because that's coming from my variable framework. Hold on, didn't work properly. Opposite sides, we'll change that to just space S, the sides. Oh, space S for the sides. Okay, now we've got a section for a home done. Let's give it some background of using a color of our primary color of this color here. Maybe set our typography to be white, and that's pretty ugly on there. So let's go back to our background. We're doing this all on the class here, right? We're going to there, maybe we're going to make it our primary dark color there. Pick an image, and we stored instant images. We've got no images just here. So we go to instant images, and we go, here's one there. Maybe we're just going to do this one on, on this guy here. Install that. Insert. Done. There's our background image, right? We're not going to go through setting this up. So now we've actually got some content. I'm going to hit the save on that and publish that and have a view of that. And there is our demo page done, right? So we do lots of this. We create lots of pages. We put some query loops in there. We're playing around with all these new ideas. And we get to a point going, look, you know what? We've made a complete mess of this. I want to start again and do something different. What do? You go back to your admin and you go to your tools, WP reset, and you say under the snapshots here, so in the snapshots tab that is, you go to your actions next to your snapshot, restore the snapshot, click on restore, okay, and we are back to where we started, where we don't have our demo page, we don't have our classes we created, we're at our starting point. So it's really good for working out ideas. So you can create points where you might create other snapshots, like you might install some additional plugins or create some different settings, create a new snapshot, give it a name, and you can restore to those snapshots. So you can do it in the one site just by creating snapshots at different levels, and that will give you a starting point for that. So that's your local site done with your plugins, your ability to reset it, all done, right? Now let's say, for example, I decide that I want to have one of these, but I want it to be based on automatic CSS, right? So what you would do is the site you've already created with all your default settings, you right click on that, you tell it to clone the site, and we might be YTACSS, clone the site. It's going to go away, copy all the files, rename all the files in the database, and give us a new site to work on. So we'll let it do this. And again, I'm not going to edit any of this, so you can actually see how long it actually takes. And while we're sitting there waiting and talking, it seems like a long time, but this is incredibly quick. And I remember the old days where you'd have to run up something like XAMPP, or install your own web server like Apache, install PHP, install MySQL. You then got things like XAMPP and a few others coming, like the Winamp and all that sort of stuff, where it installs the environment for you and gives you a bit of an interface. But it still took time, and there's a lot of mucking around and updates. I mean, this is awesome. This is just such a simple way of managing local sites that it is just awesome. And look, if you do want to go to live, all you have to do is install something like WP Vivid or Updraft or whatever, and you can push what you've done here out to a live site, and that's not a problem at all. All right, we're going to get our host redirection here. Under user account control, again on a Mac, you'll get a different security warning. You've got to follow the prompts. Let's click yes on that. Okay, so there we go. We've got another site. It's starting the site up. We'll wait for it to change the domain. Now, because it's a different domain, it's still going through that. I'll just shut up and wait for it to finish that. Come on. Maybe if you're lucky enough to have a Flash, Mac M2 Pro, this stuff will be done by now. Maybe that's my next project. To get myself one of those fancy Macs. All right, that's done. Now, because this is a different domain, you have to trust the certificate again. So I'm going to hit the trust button. And again, on PCs or Windows, you get a user account control, you hit yes. Mac, you'll get a different security warning. All right, so now we've got an ACSS version of this. So we're going to start that by going to it's already got the one-click admin. Yep, go to that one-click admin. And because it's a different domain, it's going to ask for the password again. We just use password. That's our super secure password we used on this one. And get a warning from Chrome because of that. That's okay, save that. Now, at this point here, just in case you've done other stuff, I would probably go to WP reset. I would then go to my tools. I then, not my tools, sorry, my snapshots. I restore the snapshot just to make sure that you're back at your base point. So you got no pages, no classes, no rubbish there. This happens sometimes where when you do a restore, it'll get you to log back in again. Okay, so we're in there. We then go to, where were we? So we then go back to our WP reset and make sure we delete that base. We're going to delete that snapshot there. Okay, now what I would do is I would then go to the plugins. I haven't downloaded ACSS yet, so I would then delete my framework, the BricsPix framework. I would then add ACSS as a plugin, do my settings in ACS for my defaults. Just assuming that's all done, then you go back to your WP reset, go back to your snapshots, create a snapshot, call that a base, and you're done. Right, so now what we would have is in our WP local, we've got now 2 different snapshots based on the same thing. If I close down WP local, nothing's running. Start up WP local. Oh, I'm getting a bit of a spinner for some reason. Let's just try it again. There we go. So again, this is a little sluggish. It's not too bad, but it's a little sluggish on a Windows 11 PC. Let's say we want to work on this, mucking around on that site there. Click on it, got everything set up, hit my WP admin, go off and start the site. This is starting up the web server, getting it all ready, and then it'll log me in. Okay, come on. Okay, it's just opening up on another screen. All right, log in. And there we go. So there's our starter site. I probably shouldn't use the word password for my passwords because Chrome's going to warn me every time, but you would use something that you know. It doesn't have to be complicated because you're only working off local. You're not working off a live server that other people can access. So your passwords don't need to be that secure for this. Maybe if you're going to push it out to live at some point, you might need to look at that. But there we go. We've got a base starting point. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you here is, let's say you get to that point there and you want to use this as a blueprint website. So you want to use this to start other sites that you're working on. Very simple. Right click on it, on the site that you want, and you want to save it as a blueprint, and we call this my, we just call YT demo blueprint. Okay, YT demo BP. Save the blueprint. On. Come on. All right, again, I'm not going to edit this video because I want you to see the time it actually takes. And it seems like a long time when you're sitting there watching it, but this is a hell of a time saver in reality. Okay, so now what we have is a blueprint, all right? And on the panels on the side here, we can actually see the blueprints by clicking on this icon on the left-hand side here. We can see the blueprints that we've created. Or when you're on the main screen, clicking on the plus button, you get to create a new site or create from blueprint. If I select that, continue, we want to do it from our YT demo and continue, it's going to go through and create a new website based on that one. So this is our base starting point for other playground websites that we're going to create, or we might have a blueprint for our standard builds for customers. And you could start it from here, get everything ready, and then maybe even export that out using WP or something like that up to a live host if you want to. That's a really quick way to start a website. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you is the sharing of these with other people. So let's say, for example, you've created this blueprint here and you've gone, you know what, I want other people that I know in my team to get a starter with my standard settings, standard plugins, standard setup. You might have some bricks templates you've created in there for your, your 404 pages, your standard header, standard footer, ready to go. But you want to share this with someone else that you're working with. Really simple. Right click on the one that you want, export the site. It's going to, we can leave those exclusions in there as they are, export it. Where's it going to go to? I'll just put this into my downloads for now. It's going to be called YT video zip. I'm going to export the site. So it's going to zip it up into a nice little zip package. It's there, getting zipped up. I don't know what it was, but one of the updates to Windows 10, Windows 11, zipping, internal zipping has just gone super slow. So something Microsoft need to resolve. Anyway, so there's our zip there. Now you would then put this into a shared folder and you would share that out. Could be OneDrive, could be a Google Drive, whatever you want. You would share out this. You might name that as a template file or something like that, or local template, whatever you want to call it. Stick that into a shared file, share it out with your friends. All they have to do is when they get that, they use WP Local, click on the little top left burger, import site, select the site from your downloads, open, run through the prompts, and then they've got the same starter setup that you have. That's a really powerful way of creating base starting points, creating snapshots in those starting that you can revert back to, creating blueprint starters, sharing out those with other people, and it's a really nice way to work. I will say one last thing. So we cloned this YT video one to YT ACSS. What you'll find with your commercial plugins is that it will recognize the domains changed. So you have to relicense those plugins for them to work properly. However, typically with most commercial plugins, if you don't have a unlimited site license, if your domain ends in .local, it will not count towards your license count. So I know that's true with automatic CSS. You can install as many of these as you like and activate this as many times as you like. In your automatic CSS dashboard, they will show up as being activated, but you'll see that they don't actually contribute to your license count. So you can go for your life, activate this as many times as you like for your playground. You're not going to affect your license count. So it's a nice way of doing it. That is not true when you deploy a dev site to your own hosting and then you license it. It counts as a license. You then have to go into your dashboard afterwards and you have to tell it to remove those licenses. Otherwise, it's going to chew up your licenses if you're not fortunate enough to have unlimited site licenses. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's a lot to cover in one video. So hopefully that is helpful to some of you out there and hopefully enjoy working in this way. If you like this, hit the subscribe and hit the like. Thanks, guys.